Are you thinking about moving to remote Montana? Well, in today's video, we're going to be talking about the positives and the negatives of living off of a dirt road. Now, I mention a dirt road because if you want to live in a remote area in Montana with the gorgeous views, a beautiful log cabin for you to just relax and watch the wildlife, yeah, that's all fine and dandy and sunshines and rainbows. That's great and all, but you're most likely going to need to drive up and down a dirt road in order to get your sunshine and rainbows. So that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Let's get after it right now. All right, so let's talk about living off of a dirt road. Yes, you want the beautiful Montana views. You want the beautiful wildlife. You want to be secluded. You don't want to see your neighbors. You don't want to hear your neighbors. You want it to be peace and quiet. I hear ya. And in order to get that, you will most likely need to access your home using a dirt road. Now, a dirt road is not for the weak. Now, in order to get to these remote locations, you're not going to have like a beautifully paved road, and it's not going to be flat by any means. Because if you think about it, how on earth are you going to see the beautiful views from up top and like look down on some beautiful landscape and then the mountains in the background? Like, you have to go up an elevation. And in order to do that, you'll need a road. And those paved roads, and they're not straight either, they're like steep. There are some challenges that we need to discuss. So, first one is you're going to be most likely driving on a dirt road. Number two, it's going to be steep. Now, while it's okay that it's steep in the summer and the spring, think about in the fall and the winter time. What happens here in Montana? Ding ding, we get a lot of ice, freezing rain, snow. And if you're lucky, some of the dirt roads, yeah, they might be maintained by the county. Sometimes they might not be. So it might be your responsibility to buy a tractor, plow your own road, but then you'll also have to maintain the road, because who knew that dirt roads get washboarded, they get potholes just like a regular asphalt road. I didn't know that. I'm a city girl moving to Montana. I had no idea. So I have learned the hard way. We live off of a dirt road. So let me tell you about some of my personal experiences. Now, the road that we live on, dirt road, it's kind of steep, not crazy. But there are some people that live off of the dirt road, and to get from like the main dirt road to like the house, they need to drive in their driveway. And their driveways are epic steep, like fucking boom, right? Like, I see their house at the top of the mountain and I'm like, oh my God, how it must be a slip and slide during the winter. I don't even know how they do it. I could not conceptualize that. So we did not pick a house that was all the way at the top of the mountain. We're like mid mountain, and that's enough for me. So you got a dirt road, you got steep in some places, so you have to think about elevation. Now, we have had some family come out to visit here in Montana, and they do get elevation sickness. Now, it's masked with being nauseous and headaches and just like a overall weird feeling that you can't really put your finger on, but that's what elevation sickness is. So as you're going up your steep dirt road, the elevation, like, you feel it in your ears. So when we moved to Montana, I had a baby. And guess what babies don't like? Air pressure, air elevation pressure in their ears. So I had a screaming baby. So that's fun if you have a baby. Okay. And then think about it. Like the dirt roads, they're on the sides of mountains, right? They're like, so you have the mountain, you have the road. And guess what's on the other side of the mountain? Or, excuse me. You got mountain, mountain, road. Guess what's on the other side? A cliff. So if you do not respect the road, like I've been so humbled when it comes to driving. Like I talk about driving in Montana on this channel quite a bit because it is so epic important that you are driving the right car and you respect the road, respect Mother Nature because she can throw you a curveball at any second. And I think I'm a fabulous driver. I've got quite the experience with, I come from Washington, D.C. I can drive in a city, no problem, right? I come to Montana, you got to learn how to drive because Washington, D.C. and Montana living, totally different. You have to relearn how to drive, especially if you're coming from like such extremes. Now, I bring this up because on a dirt road, you need to relearn how to drive. And Mother Nature and the road will humble you very quickly. Now, you will get yourself into situations. Like, if you stick around, I'll tell you about the situation that happened just yesterday. So, stick around until the end. We'll get there. So, one, of course, driving slowly. Now, people think that, you know what, you can go a little bit faster on the dirt road in the spring and the summer. And I have passed people who have driven right off the cliff, 100% sober. They were not on their cell phones. They were not distracted drivers. They were just not thinking properly. And the road is dirt road. Yeah, there's potholes. We'll talk about potholes in just a second. But the roads are also windy along with being steep. So, and not only windy, but they're narrow roads. So if a car is coming in the opposite direction, you'll need to pull over and then that car will pass or vice versa. Like somebody's going to have to take the initiative to stop because there's certain sections of the dirt road where two cars can't pass. It's just space. So I have seen people drive right off of the cliff because they were going too fast or they were just not really sure what was going on or they thought that two people could pass on the road at the same time. Like they're just off they go down the cliff. Bye. Totaled their car. Luckily, they were okay with some minor head injuries. It happens. So, respecting the road, being very careful when you're driving. Which leads to people think that you can drive like a little faster on the dirt road, or you don't have to be as cautious during the spring and the summer. And that is not the case. In the spring and the summer, yes, like you don't have ice and you don't have snow, like, okay. But road conditions are still, like, that's when potholes happen. So if you're trying to avoid a pothole, you're going to get closer to the edge of the cliff. Or if you're on the other side, then you might scratch your car up against the mountain because your spatial awareness was not on point to judge if the cars could pass. And once you like bring your guard down in the spring and the summertime, that's when accidents happen. Or there's people that they like to walk, jog, walk their dogs, just be outside on these dirt roads. Spring, summer, fall, winter, like it literally doesn't matter what time of the year it is. So you also, besides like being make sure that you're safe in your driving, you have to make sure that they are safe while they are walking. So when the road gets narrow, pulling over, slowing down, it's just like an overall greater awareness that honestly you don't really think about it if you're driving on an asphalt road. I mean, like city totally different and you need to be aware of other things. But when you're driving on a dirt road, you need to take more into consideration because It's not necessarily like another car that will cause an accident, it's Mother Nature or your poor judgment. So, dirt roads. If you want that beautiful view and if you want to be secluded, dirt roads. Okay. Another thing I definitely want to bring up with dirt roads is potholes. Now, I left Washington, D.C. because of the potholes. They were so bad in Washington, D.C. How did I not know? I guess I didn't have a YouTube channel like this to tell me there are so many potholes on a dirt road. I'm telling you, even if the road is maintained by the county, so your wonderful tax dollars are paying the county to maintain the road. So they bring their big tractor and they blade it, or they bring dirt to fill in the potholes, or whatever it is that the county does to maintain the road. They put dirt and salt, and they blade it because it gets washboard. So what I mean by washboard is like little teeny bumps, like boom, 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 boom. In a city street when you want people to slow down in your neighborhood, that's what that's like. But Mother Nature causes it, not the road planning people in the city. So you get your nature's down, and you just go boom, boom, boom. So the county will come and blade it with a huge blade of, it's like at the front of their tractor, and they go like the sound effects here, and they just like make sure that it's flat. But then the semi trucks and people with their ton trucks come, and, drive over it, and hence the pothole comes back over and over and over and over again. So if snow hasn't slowed you down, the steepness hasn't slowed you down, just like the overall cautiousness that you need to drive on a dirt road, if that hasn't slowed you down, the potholes and the washboarding will slow you down, because there's just, unless you're going to destroy the bottom of your car, which has actually happened to me. There was a pothole that was so incredibly deep, and I was not aware of how deep it was, or like I tried to miss it and I ended up driving right into it. Yeah, well, the bottom of my car completely hit the road and put a hole in the bottom. I think it was like the transmission area. I don't know. But it was about $2,000 to fix that. So that's fun. Dirt roads. So yeah, if you want the beautiful Montana views, there are prices you'll have to pay to get them. Dirt roads. So the last point that I want to make is another thing to keep in mind. Like, yes, in fall and the winter, you're going to need to really pay attention to the ice, freezing rain, and the snow, right? Now, in the summer and the fall, you'll need to pay attention to the mud. And I did not know that mud would be such a big part of my life when moving to Montana. We have mud all over our boots. And no matter how hard, I'm like, take your boots off at the door. Me, my kids, my husband, we bring mud into the house. I currently have mud on not that door, but one of my other doors. I have no idea how it happened, but it's like in the middle of the door. Mud is a huge part of my Montana life. And so I'm going to insert a picture of what happened to me yesterday on my dirt road. So here it is. So what happened was I was trying to avoid a enormous pothole. And instead, so I scooted over to the right, and instead of hitting the ginormous pothole, I hit mud. And then that's when my car got stuck in the mud instead. But you know what? There was a gentleman that was driving right behind me. He stopped immediately to offer help. And sure enough, he hooked up a rope from his truck to my tailgate on the back of my car and tried to pull me back, which ended up putting me in even more mud. So then I called my husband, and he did the exact same thing. Um, and then we had another neighbor that stopped. And since my husband's truck was behind me, pulling me with a rope, pulling me backwards, trying to get me out of the mud, his truck tires were spinning. So a neighbor came and he offered to tie a rope from the back of my husband's truck to the back of his truck. So we would tandem pull my car out of the mud. That did not work either. So we called in for reinforcements for a tow truck to come. And the tow truck wouldn't even drive. They pulled up like it's funny, but it was not funny at the moment. The tow truck pulled up, and the gentleman got out and he looked at the entire situation and the muddy mess. So the mud was the worst on the right hand side, but the whole road, like, yes, there's a pothole, but the whole section was so incredibly muddy. And I told the tow driver that when I was driving in the opposite direction the day before, that I drove on the other side of the road. Um, and I drove right through the pothole slowly, but I did. And it was very squishy, and I started to spin my tires. And so, in today, I tried to just avoid the pothole because I don't want my tires to spin, nor did I want to go through the pothole. So my judgment was off. My logic was to drive a little bit to the right hand side, and I didn't realize how muddy it was over there. So it got me into the pickle that I was in. So the tow truck arrives, and I was telling him about my logic and how flawed it was. And he was like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to drive my tow truck on this road to get you out. So no joke, he just left. Where did you go? Are you going to take me out of here or what? So I walked about half mile down the road, where like a little flatter, and there's like a big open area so he could stop his tow truck. And he put chains on his tow truck. Chains. Okay. That's when you know it's serious. And then he backed up and came closer to my car. And this is him pulling my car out of the mud, like drug through the mud. Like, the mud has a very big presence in my life, and yesterday that was solidified. So much mud. And to make matters worse, I got myself stuck in the mud. Check out my boots and my pants. And how on earth am I going to get all this mud out of my pants and my boots? I've got to soak them. I just put them in a corner of the garage, and I'll just deal with that as maybe when I'm done recording this video. Mud is such a big part of my life, and I did not realize it. So, do you want the beautiful views of Montana? Do you want the quiet house with lots of land, no neighbors, beautiful wildlife, deer sleeping in your backyard? If you want that, you should just accept now that mud is a huge part of your life. So, I hope that brings a little bit of light on what you can anticipate if you want all of these beautiful, shiny things about Montana. Like, it's not all sunshines and rainbows. So, if you're finding value in this video, then go ahead and give that like and subscribe button a click. That way, I can bring more of Missoula's charm to you. And if you haven't done so already, please leave me a comment down below. Now, don't go and tell me how terrible of judgment I am because I got myself stuck in the mud yesterday. Trust me, I know. I went through all the emotions. I was in shock. I can't believe I'm stuck in the mud. I cried. I laughed. I was happy when it's over. It was a roller coaster of emotions. But what would you do? How can you avoid this situation? What am I missing? Is there anything else that we need to know about dirt roads? And just leave me a comment down below. I would love to keep this conversation going. My name is Diana Filkins from living in Missoula, Montana. I get calls, texts, emails from people just like you seeking assistance with their move to Missoula and the surrounding areas. So if you're thinking about moving to Missoula or the surrounding areas and possibly living off of a dirt road because you want that quiet home with the beautiful nature and scenery, I got you. But I'm also going to tell you how it really is because no other real estate talks about how crappy a dirt road is and the price you have to pay to have a remote home in Montana. I'll tell you how it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Learn from my mistakes. So, give me a call, give me a text, shoot me an email. I would love to absolutely help you navigate this very muddy situation. See what I did there? Since I've gone through all the emotions of yesterday, now I can laugh about it. My poor car needs a car wash. Until next time, take care.